I think we started the last episode laughing too. I love it. Welcome. Happy holidays. Welcome to Poppin' Off Pink. I am creator and co-host Chi.
Hey, hope your holiday was gnarly.
And this Kimber. Ethereal figure.
It's me.
Kimber.
Artist extraordinaire and imaginary friend.
Yes. We are excited. We're actually going out later. If you're lucky, you might see some footage of that. It's the day after Christmas.
Yeah, thank God.
How was your Christmas?
It was beautiful. I was overwhelmed with emotions that I thought I'd put away a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
But it was great. I got to spend time with my family. Just really take in how my family is like growing and growing up, because a lot of us
got babies on the way.
There are babies. They're getting bigger. They're about to start school. All kinds of craziness. You know, they were just little beans the other day. And you know, like, these are my aunt's children, and my aunts and I are pretty close in age.
Oh, yes.
So
you always talk about your aunts.
Right.
Loving. I want to meet them one day.
Guys. You have to. My favorite chocolate queens. But yeah, like, it's just amazing. The oldest one, she has 2 sons, and they're getting big, and we were all just sitting back, like, going through old Christmas photos from, like, Christmases before, and of course my hair was different in every one.
I want to see these photos.
I'll show you. It was great, though. It was beautiful. It was a nice Christmas brunch breakfast situation.
That's right, you did say you went to brunch at your grandma's. We did not do brunch. I did dinner. And everybody woke up late. I don't even know what the heck. We've been staying up very late, me and my sons, who both live in different places now. So we all came together at my house. And so we've been staying up late watching just random, like, the most random shit. Like, we watched this Tiffany Haddish movie.
Oh, God.
It wasn't a Tiffany Haddish movie, but she was in it.
Shuck and jive?
It was hilarious.
Was there any fruit on her face?
Do you remember this movie? It didn't do well, apparently, because one of them, because they're my kids, had to Google this. But we were thoroughly entertained. It was called The Oath.
Okay.
Do you remember these commercials?
No.
She's married to this white guy. They have this cute little daughter. The daughter is the black girl from Stranger Things. So, like,
okay,
she's an awesome little actress, and her husband is, like, super, what's the word, like, not anti-government, but some people might say he's anti-government, and everyone in the movie in America is supposed to sign this oath, like, by Thanksgiving, and of course he doesn't. And I'm not going to give away the movie, but there's some crazy shit.
That sounds interesting, honestly.
It was really good.
Yeah.
We were just gambling, like, oh, it's on Hulu, like, why not? But
she needs to do more stuff like that. Less fruit on the face, more interesting.
But we all did wear our Christmas pajamas. They humored me. One of the pajamas I got for them said, "Where the ho-ho-ho's at?" So I wore that. The other one had the Black Santa. And then I had my pink whatever. Of course I had to have pink Christmas pajamas. But after we ate Chinese food, for breakfast, and everybody, like, was awake, I was like, all right, now I have to cook. So I made potato salad, which I'm going to let her taste some later. I made baked clams, which were phenomenal. I'm not saying that because they were, like, way better than I thought. And I was like, oh my God, I hope all this turns out well. I got the good pasta, right? The pasta that's like it was already, like, soft. It was like the handmade pasta.
Oh, fancy.
So I bought some of that, and I made that with, this is where I was nervous, y'all, because I used 2 different types of vegan
you had
sauce.
To the vegan.
But they are not, like, but it was so good. I was terrified. One was made from a base of avocado, so you got to get something creamy. Okay. And the other one was made from... So that would
be for your, like, Alfredo.
Mm-hmm. And the other one, like, so one was Alfredo and one was pesto, and I put, like, equal parts with shrimp. Yes, girl. And what else did I make? Oh, crab legs.
Yes.
I sauteed some...
And I heard about oxtails. That made my heart smile.
He hasn't made them yet. But my friend who is... Is she Trini? She lives in Canada, but she sent, shout out to Tammy. She sent she's like, just in case, like, here's what I do. Just not saying he needs my recipe, but here it is. So he's gonna make those, and what else do we eat? Oh, I sauteed some kale and garlic, which also turned out way better than I expected. So I was like, I might have to do the seafood thing for Christmas going forward. But it was just nice, and we watched again more movies. They baked cookies afterwards. So it was just, I couldn't have asked for a better Christmas.
That sounds amazing.
My babies. But on to some. We're gonna start with
Christmas gifts.
Yeah, we're gonna start with one Christmas gift and talk about the other one later. So the most obvious one, we both love Kanye. Jesus is Born was dropped yesterday afternoon.
Yes. Right up under the tree.
I did not know what to expect. I did, and some other people said this too, I did kind of expect it to be like Jesus is King Part 2, but Kanye is not overtly featured at all. It's so funny because I'm like, I want to like mute some people on Twitter because there was a couple of girls that were like, oh my God, I loved it. The main reason I loved it because I didn't have to hear his voice. I'm like, shut the fuck up. But
so why the fuck are they listening?
But they were just lauding it, and it was so great, and they were listening to it, and they loved it. It was one of the best gospel albums ever. But then you had like Stretch My Hands, which is clearly a favorite theme of his, and Ultralight Beam, Follow Me, which is if you're from Chicago, or if you like my friend Hazel, if you're like her mom, who's always been a house music head, then Follow Me. And they redid. They redid SWV, Rain, and there was another one that I'm gonna be honest, y'all. So I started listening to it, and I'm like doing something. I don't know if I was cooking or cleaning. So I went to another room, and I was maybe a little bit more than halfway through it. And then I'm like, I don't hear the song that I think I hear. Genuine. So anxious. I'm like, this is not beautiful. On this album. It was beautiful, but it made me feel conflicted. Because that's where I met somebody very significant to me who is now deceased. And that's literally the song that was playing when we met. I was dancing with someone who was about between 6'6'2", and the person that I met, I can't see them because they were like 6'6". So I'm dancing with somebody. I'm 5'7". So the person I was dancing with was about 5 or 6 inches taller than me. The person who apparently saw me from across the dance floor literally moved my man out the way. Didn't say anything. Like literally just scooted him out the way. And I was like, okay, like whoever this is crazy. So I'm gonna just finish out the song.
Seriously, that's intense.
And then I looked up and I was like, oh, he's fine.
And tall, big and tall like a tree.
Unfortunately, like I said, he's deceased, but I was like,
damn.
That song, So I loved, like you said, they did a great job, but I was conflicted. I was like, I don't know how to feel listening to this right now.
Yeah, no, anyone that knows me knows that if there's one thing I'm here for, it's an adaptation of any ratchet, inappropriate, immoral song to gospel. Give me a choir. Like when they had that little fake story going around about how Aretha Franklin was supposed to sing Bootylicious.
Stop.
I'm like, bitch,
Stop.
You better do it.
Stop.
With a choir.
Was she?
I need a tambourine. I heard about it. It never happened.
Sadly. She has an album. She was interviewed for, and I don't know why I was watching this interview recently. Probably because I started my soul music phase about a month and a half ago. And she said she remade a whole bunch of Beyonce. Not just Beyonce, but and I'm like, when she started kicking off the names of the songs, I was like, I gotta go find this album and listen to it.
Good Jesus Christ.
Yes, Jesus
Speaking
Christ. Yes.
I personally haven't gotten through all of the album as of yet. Seeing as though it just came yesterday, and with Kanye's music, it's like a ritual for me. I need to have absolutely nothing to do. I need to have the day set aside. I prefer to be in bed. Or just, there's just a series of things. There's
like a ritual going on.
Okay. So I gave it like a little taste, and the thing that struck me is that I felt his absence on the album, and that kind of distracted me from appreciating the Sunday service choir and like really receiving what they were putting out there, because their voices are phenomenal.
Amazing.
And I love that he's doing that for those people. So I definitely appreciate it in that regard, but I'm just like, there's just like a big hole. Like his presence is there.
Yeah.
Like I can definitely tell he was there every step of the way throughout the production, the direction, the scoring, all of that.
Right.
But he is not on it, and that is like.
Well, it's a gospel album. It's a pure gospel album.
Right, which is wonderful. But like
that
you
was
said,
his gift to us.
I too anticipated Jesus is King Part 2, or just something.
I think
else.
he's trying to show, not that we didn't already know
right.
that he was a phenomenal producer, but he's in the wilderness. I'm gonna get biblical with y'all. On this new. He's embarking on this new journey that Kim is like, I'm not on the journey with you yet. No. So it's kind of like we know he's a phenomenal producer, but we know he's a phenomenal producer in R&B and hip hop. Mm-hmm. And now it's like giving you a gospel album on Jesus' birthday, and it's a pure gospel album. Mm-hmm. It's not me, rapping it or anything like that. It's purely gospel. So I want you to see the level, the quality. And in between, the last show we did, he had just done Nebuchadnezzar, which was streamed live, and I still have a couple clips that I saved from it. But then he did one about Mary, which he didn't make available, which I have a feeling he's probably going to make available at some point. Yeah. So I only saw like scenes, not actual scenes from the play, but like scenes of people painted silver, including him. So there were some Silver Surfer jokes all over the internet.
A Capri Sun with the champagne. That was everything to
me. We were having a very in-depth discussion right before we started about just relationships and what we both look for. And something I said was, I don't care what your gender, we all have like a purpose, but the one thing we all need to be doing while we're on this earth is evolving. And so regardless of what you think about these new forays he's making, he's stretching himself. Yeah. I could hate any of the projects that he's doing, but I will always appreciate, especially
someone that's a black man that's making a
stretching himself. Mm-hmm. Okay, I did this, now I'm going to do this, I'm passionate about this, I need to learn something, so I'm going to go out of my comfort zone and do this.
But y'all still want him to be in the vented sunglasses in fucking Remedial, like I guess that's the next album, Remedial or whatever that y'all wanted. Mm-hmm. It's time to let it go.
And he said this many times, and other people have said it more recently for him. He knows how to make just a great hip-hop song. Hip-hop album. But what people don't respect, and Kimber, you are an artist, so you can speak to this, is that as much as you may love the art that someone puts out, it's still for them. It's still a selfish endeavor.
100%.
So
that's where it all begins. And the thing about it is that a lot of people don't realize is it's not, as you just said, for y'all. Mm-hmm. It's literally just us being so fucking dope at it, or making or garnering so much attention from what it is that we're doing, that it gets to the scale that it gets. And then somehow in us thanking you for acknowledging our excellence, you take that to mean that it's for you. Mm-hmm. It's not. So yeah, like the people that are still saying they miss the old Kanye, or he's crazy, whatever, like all of that, okay, keep it though. Like, we don't need that.
What's so funny is the universe that gospel and hip hop exist in. So just speaking from the African American perspective, I've seen some people on social like, oh, that's the white man's religion, and da-da-da. And it can be, it very well. But then you can't disrespect the tradition of gospel music and how that literally carried us over. I'm not even somebody that listens to gospel music all the time. I have like my gospel music playlist, but I tell you, the one person I can listen to from sunup to sundown is like the most old school gospel music ever, and that's Mahalia Jackson. And 50 Cent has a song that he did when he was part of that collective, and I forget the G-Unit, where he's like, he used the sample. Yeah. That song Walk With Me. Mm-hmm. As much as you can't stand 50, and he puts on this persona, because I met him in person, he is not that persona in person. at all.
Does he smell good? Yes, he looks like he smells really good.
And he has a beautiful smile. He smiled specifically at yours truly, and I felt very special. Yeah. Anyway, point being that there's been many like memes and posters that talk about the footprints in the sand, and that song. He's basically expressing how God carried him through the sand, and you have Mahalia Jackson's voice. Now that's just one example. I think that there may have been other rap songs that use that specific song, but there's been so much. Even The Game, he had a whole album a few years back that had like the stained glass church window feel, and it's like somebody made a point yesterday, and I was like, genius. I'm mad I didn't tweet it first. And they were like, as much shit as y'all talking, do you know how many samples can be used from this gospel album? Like,
that's the fucking
thing. It's a treasure trove of samples.
That's the fucking thing. Like, all of these people that are just listeners, it's like, you do yourself such a disservice when you don't dissect what you're listening to and you just take it at face value, or, oh, this new shit, that new shit, this new shit. Like, I always say that 9 times out of 10, even if you may not like what I listen to, your fucking producer does. Your producer would hang out with me before they hang out with you. Because there's so much knowledge and there's so much material, creative material that you can reference from any point in history and from any genre of music. Right. It's all expression, it's all energy, and it's not somehow worthless because it doesn't sound like something that doesn't resonate with you. It can be translated into that, and that's what sampling is. That's what Kanye does with all the samples and soul beats he used to make. It's all just like different variations of someone else's expression. But, you know. Amen.
And the church said amen.
What do I know?
Deacon Kimber.
Deaconess. Shout out to Love, Peace, and Slander. They made me a deaconess.
Did they now?
Yes. Oh my goodness. God.
So I'm just a parishioner today, y'all. But I do want you to testify.
About what?
Give me, it doesn't matter. I don't care what they do. They could be an athlete, an actress, a singer. They just have to be a woman. Let's go back to Little Kimber, honestly. With the hairstyles and the pictures that I've yet to see. Who inspired 2 to 3 people, women, who inspired Little Kimber on the come up to Kimber that you are now?
This is actually funny because I was talking about it the other day. And I don't want anyone that that knows me, that isn't a woman, to take offense. But I've always appreciated women throughout my life. Even if it was like, you know, cartoons or whatever, like I used to love like Wonder Woman and all those badass ass whoopers, Catwoman, Selena Kyle with the shortcut, you know, the agent from that little segment of Powerpuff Girls, Monkey with the little swirlies. Y'all know what I'm talking about. She was everything to me. You know, and then of course, like I was always playing with dolls growing up, so that was
Were you?
Yeah. Oh my God. What? Barbie's bitch? That's my shit.
I played with, I would dig ants up out of the dirt.
Oh.
I love when it rained because I would obviously play with the worms. And I was just talking about this with my sons at dinner the other day, which they thought was weird, but I used to play with spiders. I know people are scared of spiders, but...
Well... well, all right. I'm clearly, you know, like, my sister and I... like, our dad always loves to call us burritos because we're like a little bit of boy and a little bit of girl. So I wasn't, you know, 100%. Like, you know, I've got scuffed up knees, and after a while I was like, sis, are we going to be cute or are we going to just fall apart here? So the decision was clear, right? But to go back to what I was saying, I've always admired women. So my perspective of women was always a little bit more, I guess, like, vain. And, you know, my mother, she was like this, she was and is this homemaker / beauty queen. So there was that as well. And my father, was the most dominant energy in the house. Mm-hmm. And that in turn, like, was always who I admired, men.
Yeah.
And kind of like, especially when I got to a certain point in my life, like in high school at this point, I was like standing for Kanye.
But were you, I get why you admired men, mm-hmm. probably more so, but were you inspired, or did you model yourself after any men, or were there women that you
That's like, after a point it was Kanye.
Okay.
Because and I mean, I at one point in high school I even had like the little vests and shit and all of that.
I'm trying to picture this.
It was so cute on me, but
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it was super cute, but yeah, like, just throughout the course of my life, I've always admired men more, or like have been inspired rather by men, just because of like the drive they have, the responsibilities they have to live up to, at least just from what I saw growing up with my father, mm-hmm. And his perspective of life, and like the way he went about things, and like, you know, his creative endeavors with his music and all of that. And then Kanye came along with his message of, hi, I'm the shit. I know I'm the shit. I'm going to sing my praises because mm-hmm. I'm thankful that I'm the shit.
Right.
And you're going to have to deal with it. So those were things that I didn't really see a lot of women doing.
Right. Yeah.
So in that sense, I was never really like, you know, I can't say it was a woman, but there were like, you know, style cons where I'm just like, yes, like, you know, like on one hand, I want to be like this enchanting Disney princess, you know, epitome of femininity, but mm-hmm. then on the other hand, it's like at the core, a lot of like, you know, like, I guess people that would be posted up on my wall mm-hmm. wouldn't look like me because they'd be men.
Okay, that's fair. I like that you mentioned high school, mm-hmm. because I think those are also the same period for me where I felt like certain people made more of a mark mm-hmm. on me, and we're going to talk about one of them in a minute, but it wasn't until I became an adult and I started rewatching certain shows that I realized, oh my God, like that person really made an impact on me, and that's why I'm doing this. That's why I pursued that. Mm-hmm. One of them was a character played by Queen Latifah on Living Single. It wasn't until I started rewatching Living Single with adult eyes. It wasn't until I started rewatching episodes of Living Single with my adult eyes that it hit me how much of an impact Queen Latifah playing Khadijah James, Flavor magazine, and it took me back to me, like, as a teenager in my room having whole journals about the type of magazine I wanted to create for Black women and Black girls, which never came to fruition. But this is kind of like a living magazine, I guess you could say. And Hip Hop Scriptures is definitely one. Sorry, I know there's like some emails I need to answer, but all of a sudden I got all these emails like, I love your blog. But it's not just for women. Obviously, it's for the whole hip hop community. This is for women. And the other one, believe it or not, was Gina Waters. And I think that's because obviously Martin and her had their own relationship, but then her aspect of it's like both were inspirational, but her more so. Like, he was this successful radio jockey with his own show, and then she was this media master. And I have spent the last 10 plus years working in media, working in advertising, working in PR, working in communications, and that's literally, I don't have a Martin.
Right.
Hint, hint, taking applications. But I don't look anything like her, but I feel like I embody a lot of Gina Waters. And then the third person who I said we're going to talk about, along with some other her contemporaries, is Ananda Lewis, who also has not aged like some other Black celebrities.
Giving shea butter baby.
Ananda, because, and this shouldn't be a shock to anybody who's familiar with this show, because she created this platform, she facilitated, she came from a community angle, it was a debate, it was like, let's hear all sides, and I see a lot of myself in what she like spearheaded. She was compared at one point to Oprah when she had her own show, but I've never really been an Oprah fan like that. That's not issue. I have totally utmost respect for everything she's built, but I never connected.
Default, but yeah.
I never connected to her and felt like I want to be like her.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where with Ananda, Khadijah, and Gina, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. So we're gonna get it started with. I just want to talk about these women in chronological order.
Yeah.
And I want to, with the last show we spent a fair amount of time on birth charts and astrology, so I wanted to mess with Kimber a little bit. So as we talk about these women, I'm going to, if you watched our live show from last January, we played this game where Kimber had to guess people's sign.
Let me engage my psychic mind.
Before we even, I just want to say all hail to Big Lez. We're going to start with Big Lez, whose government name is Leslie Segar. Dancer, choreographer, host, fitness guru. She's trying to move into making her own films and also being an actress. Would you like to take a guess? We both have very limited knowledge because we were like kids when she was doing her thing, but we watched her. We researched her. We're watching her. I'm watching her now on Instagram. But like, what vibe do you get? What do you think her sun sign is?
Well, she's like very expansive, very active. So by textbook, she could be a fire sign. But seeing as though I am a fire sign who is very anti-gym, I would say if she's not a fire sign, so my guesses are then either Leo, potentially not Gemini because she seems to be very solid, but she could also be a Taurus. That would be my guess. Or perhaps, if I were to say a water sign, maybe Scorpio.
Those are all great guesses. I would not be surprised, to your point, if she has a strong, totally shooting in the dark here, Taurus influence, just because she is so solid. But she's so most dynamic. Definitely, but she's most definitely, she's known as the Jane of all trades. And she is actually a Sagittarius. So you're right, she is a fire sign.
Oh my God!
Had a recent birthday. Yes.
So she's a December Sag. That's why. Because man, I'm born on that cusp of Scorpio, and I'm like, bro, do we have to do this?
Oh my God.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
All of these women have had some interesting backstories and things that they've had to overcome. Big Lez is most known, and I'm talking about from personal experience. I remember her and Joe Claire. Joe Claire was nuts. I shared a clip of him interviewing Foxy Brown when we were going crazy trying to promote the cipher over the summer. And I laughed even watching the clip.
Hamstrings start to burn every time.
Yeah, it's like still triggering. But that show was on from 1989, believe it or not, to 2008. That's somebody's whole childhood right there. I don't think I watched it till the 90s. I'm pretty sure. I probably wasn't even allowed to watch it when it first came on. But she was on with Joe from 94 to 99. And here's the thing. Like, I used to hang out. So I was a tomboy, obviously. I hung out with my male relatives. So I was in a barbershop way more than a little girl should have been. And Big Lez was definitely one of the women talked about by the men. Ooh, don't get some of that. Let me be around Big Lez. I'll show her who's big. So it floored me. I'm not shocked because now I'm an adult. But if you would have told little me that this woman was told that she was not what men wanted to see on television. She almost didn't get cast on Rap City because that's what she was told out the bat. So actually the producers and I think some other higher up had to fight BET and fight, all the folks that made the big decisions and signed the check to even get her on the show. So she dealt with, not being, I guess, what people consider traditional or conventional beauty. Being darker skinned, being big, so the way she's built,
like
and it's
Amazon.
all her actual natural. I mean, obviously she's in the gym, but this is not like surgery enhanced
she's
at all.
She's got body yaddy yaddy, and then she's super tall, and she's got muscle tone forever. She's like literally from Themyscira. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, so I mean, some of the highlights, I know our audience spans a big chunk of time. I didn't know this until researching, but she was like the first person, I guess, to interview, maybe the only person to interview R. Kelly and Aaliyah together. And she was told, you know, she was warned, I guess, like not to ask certain questions, but flat out the gate, she was like, "Are y'all married? Like, what's going on?" She has done choreography for all the big names. Was nominated for the choreography she did for Mary J. Blige for the video Real Love. Michael Jackson. I'm forgetting some people. Whitney Houston. Oh goodness, Bobby Brown. She counts. We're talking about inspiration and influence. She counts Debbie Allen as her her biggest influences.
That's Felicia Rashad's sister. For those that don't know,
my mom, my real mom. Mom, come get me.
Oh my
Felicia
God.
Rashad's sister, better known as Claire Huxtable. And it's funny because I was just talking about Khadijah James, but Big Lez is the one dancing. You know, the Living Single song. She's the girl. She's the dancer. So I don't know. Like, she's super good friends with LL Cool J. She also did choreography for him. I saw a clip of them from way back. I don't even know where I found it, but it's clear that she has so much respect. She's a New York girl. Wanted to put that out there. So she's friends with all these legends. It's not like, oh, I'm a fan, and I'm sure she is a fan and they're a fan of hers, but this woman is literally, if I had to say there's a woman that just embodies hip hop, then Big Lez is definitely it.
Yeah, she's earned her ranks. She's gone through all the shit, and you know, like, a lot of people would have broken down just being told, like, hey, you're not sexy, go home, and she still kept powering forward. I think that's very admirable, because she really isn't the run-of-the-mill image that a lot of women are, you know, seen on TV as. And at the same time, I find it fucking confusing that a lot of these networks and TV shows want women that are basically video vixens to host and like show knowledge. Not to say that they couldn't, but a lot of them don't, and a lot of people associated with that image aren't put in those positions.
Superhead could definitely do it.
Absolutely, but
she's one of the few.
Absolutely, but again, one of
the few.
Corinne
Stephens. I don't know what she goes by now.
That didn't even hit me. Yes, Miss Corinne, we apologize. Oh, fuck, that was terrible. Damn. Yes, she could do it. But, you know, that just goes to show that if that expectation can be placed on that archetype, then there needs to be space for, you know, women such as Big Lez. Angie Martinez is another example. Yes. Like, from her very tone of voice, I don't think she's like the typical female host that you would want, but she has that relatability, and that's what's important. And I can't believe that they overlooked that.
Yeah, and I again never saw it, so I can't say I have memory of it, or I can't find it on YouTube, guys. But she conducted like some of the very first on air, on TV, like classic hip hop interviews. So that includes Biggie, Tupac, Outkast, the Fugees, and like probably many more.
Take notes, Angela. I'm sure she had useful, interesting things to say. Things that let her guests know that she is not only familiar, but interested in their body of work.
Not just like the typical.
So what you doing later?
Or
you gonna go hang
I
out
heard
here?
That you had a relationship with this particular video vixen.
Some
or like,
salacious
what's going on in your love life? Like,
right.
Yeah.
What kind of exfoliator do you use?
Well, she's on. I have not seen it. I've seen clips on her Instagram, but she's on Dash Radio, a show. It's like a weekly internet show called The Spin Room.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and she did an interview. I think it was earlier this year. I don't know where she is in this journey, but like I mentioned before, she does want to get into acting, which I don't like. Really, there's no reason Big Lez should have to struggle in my opinion, to get into acting, given all the stuff that this woman has done. She's basically shown you that she can be whatever she sets her mind to and do it at like a very professional level.
I'm sure that after this, Shonda Rhimes will start working on something for her.
She needs to. Shonda? Not that I know you personally,
not
but
Tyler.
Let's make it happen.
I don't want Tyler to pick her up. I want someone that's going to give her, that's going to push her and, like, you know, like, meet her at the level she is. And, yeah. I want her to get her just due if she does.
I feel like it's coming. And, I've been watching, like, she gets really great interaction on social. So it's like people are discovering that she's on social. I'm like, oh my shit, you know. My brother being one of them, I saw you. She posted a very beautiful bikini picture recently. But I think the beauty of her and some of the other women we're about to talk about is that you really gotta have like staying power. And I don't mean staying power like, oh, I'm booked all the time, I'm in all these movies, I'm on these shows. Just staying power and staying in touch with yourself, your own power, your journey, believing in it, because look how everything's coming full circle. Now people are like, oh, she's there. I can like follow her. I can see what she's doing. What happened behind the scenes? Almost every, now I didn't look at a ton of interviews, but I looked at enough interviews. And one of the main questions was, what happened behind the scenes at BET with Rap City? So in addition to her and sending her light and love on her journey to get into acting, in addition to her doing that, she wants to start making her own documentaries. And she said she wants to make a documentary on Rap City. That would be... Please invite us to the premiere. We want to be there.
Please.
And something else near and dear to our hearts.
And don't hold back. Tell us all the stuff.
I'm sure she's not.
I want all of the stuff. I want all of the details.
And she's also wants to do a documentary specifically on women in radio.
Whenever you're ready, ma'am.
So
at this point,
I just, not to take anything away from the women that we currently look at as like badass, because I think number one on the list would be like Rihanna, but how badass do you have to be told that shit? Like, oh, you're not the one that makes Bob Johnson's dick hard, and
well, that's the
you're
thing.
not the one that, you know, should be on television, and to just say fuck you. I'm doing it. I'm working with LL. I'm working with Queen Latifah. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And to finally, well, she was always celebrated by her audience, by the way, like I said earlier. But to really come full circle and be like, damn, this is a fine ass woman, talented ass woman, and just made such a huge impact to not just hip hop culture, but like the culture.
Yeah. It's incredible that so much can exist in one place and in one person, and I think it's unfortunate that she's not getting her just due at this point, and it's crazy because I too, when I reflect on it now that you know, this particular episode has brought her to my attention, do recall seeing her kind of sprinkled throughout, you know, television and just any random thing that I'd come across, even though, you know, like, at this point, I don't know, I could have been maybe, like, 9 or 10, but I do remember seeing her, and, like, there's a lot of things that she's involved in now that I have heard of, but it's nowhere near at the level of awareness it should be at.
No.
And it's a disservice, frankly. It's just not fair. But again, I don't know. There's just something about real talent and the industry that's just like oil and water.
Clearly.
I don't think they like it very much. You know, talent and like actual substance. I don't think they really care for it.
Oh, that is a beautiful.
It's kind of like me and smoothies. You know, it gives me a headache, upsets my stomach. I think that's kind of how the industry feels about talent.
For me, having like a routine. But no, that's a beautiful segue, because I did find a clip. Actually, I found a 50-minute video, but you know, I have like a really short attention span, so I watched like a few minutes of it while multitasking. But what was interesting to me, because we knew who we were going to talk about today, so I was looking for a clip of Teen Summit, which Ananda Lewis, who we're going to talk about now, hosted, but I want to give her a little bit of her backstory. But what was funny is I'm watching it du jour was her partner on, or like co-host. So he's in the audience, Ananda's sitting on stage, and then I hear this voice. And so I look up, and it's actually Big Lez. So even though that wasn't her show, she was on there. So I would love to hear more about the relationship between, because I didn't find any of that, and I honestly didn't go looking for it, but I would love to hear about the relationship between Ananda and Big Lez. But a little bit, some of these folks give out more personal details than others. So I have more information on Ananda that I have on Big Lez's background. Ananda is Black and Native American. She was born in LA but grew up in San Diego. Her parents split when she was 2, and her dad, it seems like, was not a part of her life really, but her mom, I guess because they were together for such a long time, took the breakup really, really, really hard and left for about under a year. But she talks about feeling
shell-shocked.
And her grandmother like stepped into that mother role. But I like the fact that she didn't just open up about that, but she talked about certain things stay with you. We've talked about that. Like there's no scale for trauma.
Right.
You have an imprint from the time you're
for a week.
Yeah, from 0 to like was it 5 or 7 years old?
Yeah.
Everything that happens to you is like stuck in your body, soul, DNA for the rest of your life.
Wait till I tell you the things I learned about myself.
So we have to unpack that, which sounds like we got something to unpack later. She had a speech impediment. But I think if you know who Ananda Lewis is, or if you go looking for her after you hear this episode, one thing that comes across that I was not shocked when I read about this and saw this, was a very driven child. So she overcame the speech impediment between like the ages of 8 and 11, I want to say, but she actually entered herself into a contest. An 8-year-old.
Not a typical 8-year-old.
Like, typically it's a family member or teacher that says, oh, you should try out for this talent show or this beauty contest. She entered herself and she won. But her passion was like teaching, which I don't think is shocking given the way she facilitated Teen Summit. So she did do some tutoring, and it was her students, believe it or not, that convinced her to audition for the Teen Summit role. And she got it like just as she was about to do like Teach for America.
Wow.
So that's what put her on that path. But I mean, there's a lot of little nuggets in her story.
For sure. I just really admire the fact that, and it's crazy because she is yet another person that was affiliated with EBT. And I admire that she walked away from them, got with MTV, which is like, to me, substantially more, not only revolutionary network, just in the sense of all the things they would do with their programming as far as like animation, music. I feel like they were kind of the first ones to really start pumping reality TV.
Oh yeah, The Real World.
Like, The Real World, and like even True Life. Like True Life is my shit. But like
Catfish.
Yeah, like they're still doing
one of my favorite lines ever. You should have never called me a fat ass Kelly Price. I want that on a t-shirt.
Like they're still growing, and like, like Nitro Circus, personal favorite. Jackass, personal favorite.
Jackass, I'm familiar with. Yeah. Nitro Circus?
We'll get into it.
That's some new
Travis
shit.
Pastrana, I love you. But yeah, it's pretty admirable that she, being a Native American, African American woman,
beautiful,
literally left that network and just elevated herself and worked with them. Like that was like wow, that was tremendous to me. And it made me, I feel like this is going to be the episode where we side eye, BET, EBT.
Oh, we have to, because that's the common thread.
Yeah.
With everyone we're talking about, and that was an interesting discovery that I made. Is they all got effed over at some point. Well, Ananda wasn't necessarily effed over, but she knew her worth basically and took the opportunity.
Right, but like seeing as though she left, it just kind of makes me want to turn back to them and say, well, she's essentially now on the opposite end of the spectrum of Big Lez go, like as far as looks and all of that. So then again, what could it have been that caused her to leave as well. It's like, you know,
I think
this is
like
supposed
you said,
to be a black network that is now advertising BET Plus, where you can stream black culture, but your standards for the people that you employ to represent the company aren't very black, or if they are, they're just perpetuating certain negative aspects of blackness.
I think she knew what her and Du Jour brought to collectively with Teen Summit, because it's reported, I'm sure it's true, she cried for like 3 weeks after she made the decision to leave BET. I feel like maybe she felt like she was leaving the teens that were on Teen Summit and that community. But to your point, because MTV has such a diverse programming even back then, she was able to do so many different things. She wasn't just on TRL. She hosted Hot Zone. She did some specials. She had a very close relationship with Aaliyah, and she hosted like the first, I think, forum after Aaliyah passed away.
Yeah, and she got to be herself and flash her tits on like some spring break shit. Like,
wait, I don't want to touch on that. But she also hosted like the first, and I don't remember it. I remember it, but I don't remember it. But she hosted like a talk after Columbine. But to your point,
you're right. She did do that.
Let's get back to the flashing. So one of the, you know, they got all these YouTubers, and one guy did a great job, and he was like, "Yeah, so she went off," and I don't remember. I remember probably hearing about it, but again, I don't remember the moment. She apparently went off on Q-Tip because she felt like one of his videos had too many scantily clad women. And he's like, "But then Ananda flashed her tits in Panama, but she had like pasties or." I thought that was funny. I love, including where I find it in myself, the contradiction of humanity. I don't necessarily think that's a contradiction, only because that was her using her agency. You can certainly argue that it's contradictory.
It was tastefully done.
But with Q-Tip, and we've seen this with other artists. I can't think of anyone. I don't want to say the wrong names, but we've seen where, and even on BET, where they banned certain videos. I think Sierra, one of her videos, where women were either close to naked or naked, but then there you could see similar images in like a 50 Cent video or another video, and those videos were fine. And to me, she embodies that fight of, she's basically wagging her finger at Q-Tip, but it's like, this is a man's video with these women. Me being in Panama flashing, that's my agency.
Right.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just found it
interesting, very
entertaining, and interesting tidbit about her. And, you know, I talked about my celibacy journey. She was and this is before what we're doing, before social media. She publicized her taking a stance to be abstinent, and then went into detail about why she felt it was important. Like, she felt like she started having sex too young, and that there was, and I can relate to this part, that there was drama that comes with sexual relationships that she wanted to like remove herself from.
That's probably why she still looks the same age that she did back then.
Yeah. So, I mean, and she was doing that for herself, but also having the background of being a teacher, being a tutor, being this host of Teen Summit. At this point, she was on MTV, but I think it was kind of like, once again, talking directly to the youth, right? Talking to the young people. And like, for someone who's so beautiful and outspoken and just known, at one point she was like known on the New York scene, apparently. She knew what that impact would be, like taking a stance and saying, I'm gonna be abstinent for at least 6 months this year, and this is why. And these are the pitfalls that you want to avoid.
Yeah, another dynamic, incredible person that is very like rooted in themselves from very early on in life. I think that's amazing, and I really was blown away by the fact that something like Teen Summit existed. Like, you know, for me,
Seriously.
growing up, it was like shit like Zoom and, you know, whatever else. And as I got older, I don't think there were that many shows that really went into addressing what's going on around us or what we're subjecting ourselves to directly. It would be 106 in Park. And through that, you would kind of learn how to navigate through life, but you would never think about it in the way that they did on Teen Summit, where they're dissecting the usage of the word bitches and hoes and all of that, and just the overall progression or deterioration of hip-hop at that point, and what that meant for everybody, for men and women. Like, that was an incredible thing to witness. And like you said, it was very peaceful. It was an intellectual conversation. And it just kind of, like, yet again, it's like the same way I feel about the era of Motown. I mean, of course we know niggas were nigging back then, and, you know, shooting and looting and drinking and smoking and cheating and fighting, but there was still some presence of, like, mind. There was still some interest in the community, and it was, again, looking at that and seeing that, like, where is it now? Like, now we don't even talk about it. Like, everyone just kind of accepts it the same way we accept that, you know, iPhone is going to keep making more and more stupid updates, and we just deal with it. Like, we've just been adapting to the culture that music is teaching us now, but we're not taking time to talk about it, to consider how it makes us feel, or how it may be affecting people around us. Like, we don't take that time anymore.
Yeah, I like the fact that, I mean, at least the one episode I watched on YouTube, and I'm sure it was, you know, pretty representative of the show, was that they specifically had teenagers saying, this is how I feel about the music. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I don't understand. This is what's making me uncomfortable. And they had also the variety of the people. They had Chuck D from Public Enemy. They had, like, these West Coast rappers. They had two of the pioneers. The one clip I wanted to talk about, Scorpio, who I didn't listen to these people's music, but I know the names, right? So, like, Scorpio and Melly Mel were also on this particular episode with all the people I just named. And it was a teenager. Ladies, you're gonna love this. This is a teenage boy, right? We don't even hear grown men talking like this. And he's like, how do you feel about the male ego? Do you think it's a problem in hip hop? Like, y'all always calling women B's and H's. And he literally said B's and H's. And so Scorpio was like, hip hop, you know, started with the male ego. And so he's like, and it was built on this idea, which I'm all for, of you must crush your enemy. And so then Chuck D added his bit. He said that, you know, even though he's not that type of rapper, it was a rite of passage. Like, the men on the stage had put him through the ringer. And the men on stage were like, and it's so funny given the age we're in now, where you had, like, for example, you had, like, Drake with several, like, public beefs, right? And he's like, we didn't even talk to each other. He's like, y'all think we were, like, this big party or happy family. That was not how it was. Like, it was about crushing your enemy. Me and Kimber, if we were men back then in hip hop, we might meet each other on stage to trade bars, but we didn't, like, hang out. Is what he was saying.
We would have hung out, though.
Yeah, but the one thing that Chuck did, or maybe it was someone else on stage, but they said that it's not a problem. Like, they said, it was built off. It's sportsmanship to it. But he said when the male ego goes unchecked, that's when it could be a problem. So it was just a beautiful moment. It just really, I remember watching Teen Summit, but I don't remember it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't remember specific episodes and stuff like that. And there were other black shows. There used to be oh my God, there was a black quiz show that used to come on Saturday morning.
That's adorable.
I don't know what it was called, but it was, I'm totally making up this name, but it was something like Know Your History. Have you seen this before?
That does sound familiar.
It used to come on Saturdays. I do not remember, but just think about growing up in an era where you had
I feel like I've seen, but don't remember.
You grow up and you have Teen Summit. You have Ananda Lewis on other shows like Total Request, like Lala. We talked about Lala extensively on the show, and all the stuff she did on the come up. And then you have, like, an actual Black History, like, competitive show. I think we need these type of shows more than ever in this day and age.
And I think
because you're not learning it in school.
Nothing. And I think the most interesting and incredible part is that whether Ananda noticed it or not, in doing that, she essentially created and like reinforced somewhat of a tradition that used to exist for us as Black people. It was very tribal, having like all of these
she's Native American.
Right. Like, I don't think she realized that she channeled that. I hope she does. And I hope that eventually someone else takes that on, because that needs to happen, where you have the elders, people like Scorpio, people that we had no idea about, and all these different generations of people coming together to discuss our behaviors and just our overall trajectory. Like, that's incredible.
So now that Kimber said that, expect to see this some semblance of that on your favorite podcast, because their interns take notes from everything that we say on here.
If you guys could just like I'm a hippie. I don't like paperwork, and I prefer not to send an invoice. But if we could just get a percentage, like 10 and 10, and like we'll be good on
like
that.
Literally right after we did the show on Girlfriends, all this praise came out from all these celebrities, from Mara Brock-Akil, which she deserves times 1,000. But like we've said before, it always follows what we're doing. So yeah.
So whoever's watching, just like slide us that 10%.
It's okay.
I would also like gift cards to places such as Fridays on a weekly basis, because I know you got it. And what would you like? Maybe like a Whole Foods, Trader Joe's
clothes
gift card?
No, I want jewelry and clothing.
You have so many.
I didn't say shoes. I know I have a shoe problem. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, do that with your 10%. I'm trying to get a nice little gift basket here, I'm trying to get the steak and the potatoes.
No, but in all seriousness, I do hope. I was very inspired by that. And I do hope that, we've done live shows. We did the Cypher. I would like to put more effort.
Around the same time of all the other Cyphers.
That never happened. But yeah, I would like to put more effort into that, what you just said. I want to sit, and I've met him a few times. Shout out to Hip Hop's biggest fan, because he bigged him up the other day.
Hip Hop's biggest
But
fan.
Cool, I would like to sit with like Cool Herc on one side of us, and like 50 Cent, and then like G Herbo. Actually, that would be a great combination. Now that I'm thinking about it,
that'd be wonderful.
But and even that same format, but with like women from all those different like eras as well. That's what's missing. Like, the fact that you had all of those people on the same stage. It wasn't just gangster rappers, just political rappers, just the old school rappers. You had all those people on stage plus the youth. Right. And if they didn't have another time where they needed to have their voices heard and questions asked, this is it.
Oh, especially now with all the drug use that's going up. Yeah. All of the just...
Oh, yeah.
The way everyone's treating each other. We've got 13-year-olds stabbing people to death. And now, if more than ever before, there needs to be some kind of discussion. Can you imagine?
I didn't quiz her, guys. Oh. Okay, what's Ananda's sun sign?
So, Ananda, the impression I get from her, I think, it's just so strange. I feel like she could be an air sign.
I could see why you would say that.
But then there's like so many factors to consider. Again, like she, like Big Lez, is very dynamic and very self-motivated.
Very self-motivated.
Driven. So I also feel like earth or fire. Mm-hmm. I don't see her being a water sign.
No.
So my guesses would be for her either Aries, I don't know, Gemini. I feel like she seems like a straight shooter.
You really shaded the Gemini?
I'm not trying to. Kanye, my beloved Kanye,
no,
is a Gemini.
The women
but it's
Gemini.
No, seriously, like every time I think of a Gemini, I automatically think of like Lisa Left Eye.
Oh yeah, that was another person briefly in high school. I modeled myself after Lisa left.
But it's like she was very wise and very out
with
there.
The shits.
But then she's
shits.
with the shits, and like there's so many, news stories that provide evidence of that, where she burned her house down. I don't think Ananda would burn her house down.
She burned her boyfriend's house down, not her house.
Right. So there you go. But
oh, love.
Yeah. Beautiful. But yeah, Ananda, I get the impression that she could be an earth sign, a fire sign, or an air sign. So my guesses for her would be Aries, possibly Leo.
I can see that.
Aquarius, or like a Capricorn.
Really? Maybe she has an influence.
Yeah,
Capricorn.
like I could see that, like that being like a placement for her.
Well, not only, this is very near and dear to my heart, besides the fact that she's also Black and Native, she has the same birthday as 3 special people in my life. My dad, my firstborn, and my illustrious uncle, who's a producer, who you know about. Yeah. All have the same birthday, March 21st.
So she's an Aries.
She's an Aries. Oh. It's just something about that specific day, because all those people are very clearly musically inclined also. So I feel like it's just Aries is like the first sign. It's ruled by Mars, action, like the driven, the motivation. And the fact that it's the first day of that sign, I feel like people born on that date just have like, there's just something special. The guy that plays, I'm being a dork now. So like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Matthew Broderick?
He's same birthday.
Oh, that's crazy. That's funny.
I just love you March 21st people. Anywho, speaking of fire, we're gonna start this. I'm gonna be a little shady, just a segue. So we're big Beyonce fans. There's always you love Beyonce.
I acknowledge her. I appreciate her talents.
Well, that's enough.
I don't love her.
I love her.
I can do without her.
She knows I love her.
She's like cookies and cream ice cream. I could see why everyone likes it, but she's not my favorite flavor.
She knows I love her. But, this is definitely somebody, like anybody when you get to that level, there's always thousands of freaking rumors. And so, I didn't realize until I was researching the person we're going to talk about now that potentially that song Ring the Alarm allegedly could have maybe been about Miss Marie Antoinette Wright, also known as Free. I think most of our viewers, the ones that are on the younger side, myself included, are more familiar and have more memories of Free than we do the other folks we talked about.
Free was the first, female co-host, aside from like the older stuffy ladies that I was familiar with. She was my first 106 and Porch experience.
She's not just a TV personality. She's done production for TV. She's also a choreographer. And listed also as a philanthropist.
She's gorgeous as
hell. Oh my God, yes. And she, I guess when I say philanthropist, she's done a lot of work around imprisoned populations, men and women.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've just always loved her name too.
Yeah.
And like the way she embodied it.
She's from Boston.
Parking the car and having
She went to the Roxbury Center for Performing Arts. Some of you should already know this, but she sings, she raps. She's definitely known, I think, more so for the rapping that she's done, even though
I didn't know that.
Like behind the scenes, that was always a passion. So she performed and won a bunch of talent shows throughout Boston. Her big break came. I didn't know this. I should have known this, but I guess in 91 I was like in grade school, so I wasn't paying attention. But she was in he's now known as Mark Wahlberg, but back then he was known as Marky Mark. So her big break was she was in the Good Vibrations.
Oh fuck!
I just hear that
Mark
hook in my background.
When people mention that too.
Marky Mark, Calvin Klein's underwear, all that. Yes. She was an intern at a radio station. She had a connection. I don't really know the connection other than, probably being friends to Wyclef that landed her. Now this is taking it back. On the Cannabis album. You remember Cannabis and LL Cool J going back and forth? I have like a post on it if you go to Hip Hop Scriptures Instagram that actually got more interaction than I expected when I posted it a couple years ago. But I kind of like lay out the history of that a little bit. So I was like, really? I would have never thought Free and like Cannabis. Right. This is the beauty of this show. You start digging into stuff and have an appreciation for the women in hip hop, and women in hip hop being such a broad category. Because we done talked about video vixens. We're talking about these pioneering VJs and DJs and show hosts. We talked about freaking makeup artists for like Tupac and the Friday movies, like
the discovery of products by way of shows.
Yes.
Affiliated with the culture.
Yes.
Like.
Yes.
Covering a lot of bases.
Got a little juice for y'all. So on that vein, before we talk about her 106 and Park, which is what she's known for the most, she has an album that she started recording in like 2003, right? And see how everything always comes full circle? When we were talking about the show with Corinne Steffens and Sister Souljah, and somebody got pissed, like, don't you dare mention Corinne Steffens in the same sentence. Come to find out,
the woman who wrote one of the most successful urban novels.
Not only did they have Puffy in common, but both of these women have like their own charitable foundations to help people that are like going through abuse and stuff like that.
I wonder if Corinne knows like the ins and outs of like I wonder if she was intermingling with Big Lez and
that is a good question. If
and
anybody
Free.
knows,
and does she know about Free?
Yeah, because most of y'all are in New York like us. So if you or your mom or your auntie or uncle knows, that would be great. Like drop that tidbit, because y'all, it all comes down to the beauty salon and barbershop where you find this stuff out. Seriously. Hell, I was in Dry Bar when somebody was telling me about when they met Fat Joe's wife and what she was like versus another rapper's wife and how they were so different. I'm not going to divulge that because what goes on in the beauty shop stays in the beauty shop.
She's actually a Dry Bar regular.
Well, there you go. Okay, see? Yeah. I could tell you which Dry Bar you got to go to, but I'm not going to tell you. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to tell you. But anyway, so the point I was trying to make up is everything comes full circle. So we started this episode talking about our favorite Kanye, and Kanye is actually featured on this album along with Missy, Just Blaze, Timbaland, probably some other people.
A star lineup.
It never came out.
Mess.
So we don't know, Free, if you're planning you like maybe she has like an elaborate plan, like when this happens, that's when I'm gonna drop the album. But
with the way she's living her life now, she's probably like let that go. Like she's probably I don't know if she'll.
I think that passion is still there. I mean, the year before she and AJ, left 106 and Park, there was a kerfuffle apparently about her doing a freestyle with, of all people, the Yin Yang Twins. And there was one clip that I saw like at their 500th episode where she's like just out there rapping on the show. So I feel like, they had the Freestyle Fridays. Another constructive outlet for youth, because you could not curse. You could not say anything sexually explicit. You just had to trade bars. That was when Free and AJ were hosting the show. It just came this huge impact. It surpassed MTV's TRL, which was a huge feat for BET.
Yeah.
Like, it became the place not just for Black youth, but all the youth were like waiting for the 106 and Park video countdown, who the guests were going to be, the Freestyle Fridays. Like, it really created something huge for hip hop.
100%. And now they've essentially, again, just a side eye to BET, where you exiled AJ and Free for not only showing that they can present the culture and represent it, but can also be a part of it as well. I find it interesting that she was fit to announce the videos, and I'm sure Salt Shaker did show up on 106 in Park a couple countdowns in a row. So it's fine for her to do that.
Right.
But as far as her having her message and embodying the same thing that she's hosting, being a problem is, again, very interesting. It just gives you a lot of insight to who's in the boardrooms.
Mm-hmm. And I experienced that. I don't know if I talked about it. I blogged about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I talked about it on the show. Being in media,
mm-hmm.
but working for these very... And it wasn't always a brand. Sometimes I worked for agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I wasn't allowed to talk about my hip-hop museum. And then you'd have like a white guy come in, and the first thing he said, you know, every project's different. You have a different,
mm-hmm.
usually a core group, but then a larger, different group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Different designers, different DPs, whatever. And so you'd have this white guy come in, cool, whatever. And he's like, yeah, you know, you're getting to know each other. I used to do this and that for Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd have like another, maybe a white girl. And she's like, yeah, I did such and such for another, 50 Cent. And I'm like, what the fuck? So if I mention that I'm into hip hop or mention what I do in the community, that's problematic. We literally work in media. We literally are working for brands. And, 6.5 times out of 10, they want to infuse some element of hip hop into their campaign.
So much so that even regular commercials now are using all the slang.
Yeah.
I think there was like someone used twerk in Words with Friends.
Twerk, bae, lit.
Lit has been a big...
From the whitest white brands. Not even like the brands that would... see,
those luxury
fit in with the culture.
That send you bento boxes with your clothes
mm-hmm.
inside, all kinds of shit.
Yeah. So I felt that, I'm gonna be honest, on a very personal level, what you're saying, that
mm-hmm.
she was... That really messed me up. I'm like, so that was problematic for her to rap. But she's sitting there doing these iconic interviews with Jay-Z, mm-hmm. with Michael Jackson,
mm-hmm.
with Eminem, with Trina, with Chingy, like everybody that was popping back then. But her expressing herself in that same vein, in that same culture, is problematic.
And it's only because the thing is, it's not that it's, and this is where I'm going to show my real face.
Uh-oh.
My real evil, my real Fire Lord brain is about to be exposed. It's not that it's not profitable, because the thing I realize is, and I feel like the powers that be are also aware,
mm-hmm.
that there are certain things that can be exploited when something comes out of purity and raw talent and just someone's dynamic energy and just like their awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of profit that can be gained from that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's not that it's not profitable for us to be a part of the culture or have like a direct say in it to the degree that a lot of the boardroom people do. But what it is empowering to Black people.
Yep.
And that, I think, is the issue that BET, as well as all of these other networks and brands have. And while I don't know about you, but I can't figure it out yet as to what has y'all so pressed and what it is that causes this aversion that you have to us feeling good about ourselves and being aware of things and being empowered. But, I'm working on it.
I think there's just something inherent in, I can't, people love to say people of color, but I am a person of color, but I'm not a person of color. I'm a Black person. That's my experience.
Right. I'm of that color.
And I can only share my appreciation for my people.
Honestly.
So regardless of what part of the diaspora you're from, there's just something inherently magnetic, attractive, dynamic, alluring about what comes out of us. Whether it's what we're cooking, what we're saying, what we're singing, how we're dancing,
mm-hmm.
how we walk.
We look.
I'll never forget, I had a boyfriend that was like, oh my God, we had been together for a few months, and he's like, you're bow-legged. And I was like,
what the fuck?
I was like, I sure am. I was so tickled. He's like, but you gotta walk. Like, you have a walk that no one's paying attention to that. Like, you can't even see. He's like, I just realized it. And I'm like, yeah. And, you know, they say that black men have a certain rhythm also when they walk. So, you know, when you don't, and it's just like on a personal level too. I think I reposted, it was like a Nipsey Hussle quote. It's just a lot of folks out here that just don't really care for themselves. And God forbid, there's some folks that actually hate themselves. And that's just sad. And when you come from a place of appreciation of yourself and you really do love yourself, see, we both have a lot of Scorpio in our chart. Mm-hmm. But the second sign that I have most dominant in my chart is Leo. And so I don't understand why someone would hate on me or be jealous of me, because I've been through so much. But I have a lot of magnanimity. So I'm easily able to compliment this woman or the next woman and not even think about it 2 seconds later, because I actually like myself. And I like what I see in the mirror, and I know what I bring to the table. But some people can't understand that. Like, they'll compliment her and then be thinking like, oh, does she think I'm dope? Does she think I'm, you know? And I don't relate to that.
I gotta stop you right there, because people
I hit a nerve.
No, I mean, I'm just about to state a fact, because people have openly admitted to me that or not even to me, but to someone else regarding me, that they didn't pay me a compliment because they didn't want my head to get too big.
See what I'm talking about?
A lot of people like to pick little things out about me, and, you know, say, oh, I like this, I like your that, I like your this, and then eventually they'll work their way around to, you know, just complimenting me completely as a person, or they'll avoid it altogether. And that in turn, I think, goes back to what you're saying, where it's like, are you looking at me in reference to yourself?
Right, which you should never do.
At all, because I'm a mess. But all that aside,
at all.
all that aside, yeah, it all goes back to psychology. And so
shout out to my really Leos. Because I'm not a Leo, but like I said, I have a lot of Leo in my chart, which would shock no one that actually knows me. But, you know, I think they get a lot of flack for being whatever. They're just confident, typically. They do have a way to get their egos bruised, because they are so... What I'm saying is you have a second nature about you where you're just confident. And it's like, yeah, everybody come with me. Right. Yeah, you're beautiful, you're dope, you're whatever. And it's not... It is what it is.
And you're solid in yourself, and people just don't know how to digest that.
So I think, you know, collectively, like, we all have our struggles, but collectively, black folk, we're that, and it rubs some people the wrong way. That's one of the reasons we're in this capitalistic society.
Runs so deep, yeah.
That's why. That's one way to control it, to contain it, because free to have all these gifts, right? To be so dope, to be so beautiful, to be like this natural hair icon and this natural beauty,
right?
It's almost like, well, who the hell are you to think that we're going to let you do this too, you know? And I don't even know if that's the reason for why the show, her being part of the show ended. There's some credence to it. But that's what happened, right? It did rub some people the wrong way. And then, unfortunately, the last year she was there, you know, you had Wendy Williams being one of the main folks that was like a mouthpiece about the Jay-Z rumors. She had to backtrack. And this is only me spending like 10 minutes watching the Wendy coverage, right?
Yeah.
She had to backtrack after fully having someone literally on her show say, oh, I saw Free at the hospital, and Jay-Z was there, and they had a baby boy, and he was wearing a blue cashmere sweater.
Oh my God.
Literally had to come back on her other show and be like, oh, well, apparently it was Jay-Z's really good friend and this other woman that had a baby, and that's why he was at the hospital. Like... yeah.
That in itself sounds like I'm not even gonna touch that. Oh
yes.
God.
So, there was just a lot of. It sounds like, and I don't remember because, like I said, I have memory of, but I don't know these memories. Like, they're not close to near and dear to my heart. But there was a lot of friction because of those rumors. The final year, so between 2004 and 2005, before she left the show. I feel like
Corinne knows something about all of this.
Oh, I'm sure. But, you know, she and AJ was like huge in the New York nightlife scene, and I think he owned some places. So he was already like his own man before. Yeah. It was a guy from Chicago, my Chicago people, Mr. Daniels out of Chicago, that hipped him to, hey, BET's coming to New York because they're based in DC. And they were like, you got to get this dude because he's like the king of nightlife or whatever. So that's how that came about. Right. But they were replaced, and the ratings suffered. The quality of the show suffered. No shade to these people. I'm just saying. All they were replaced by Terrence, who we know as Terrence J, and Roxy.
Terrence, you are corny. I saw you at the Power premiere party at Madison Square Garden. Lord. You are a nightmarish host. You are the most proactive commercial looking.
Oh, God.
Super square, trying to be cool, cornball playing cool motherfucker I've ever seen.
Okay, so Kimber saw Terrence. I have seen him more recently, not in person. I saw him on, because I'm a Power fan. He's been hosting the after show, and a lot of people have been giving him flack
because he's lousy. He's lousy.
But he was, there was a couple movies he was in that I felt like he. Anywho, so
I'd sooner have Common sit down and talk to the cast of Power. Hell, John Legend could sit down and talk to the cast of Power.
No, John Legend. Okay, we're gonna leave that there on the table. Just bringing it full circle with Free. Just
consider it.
Yes, her and AJ made a cameo in Drumline, and they were just. I'm just trying to let you guys understand, if you didn't already know, how impactful they were as a duo, and in her own right. It wasn't until I watched the clip I was like, damn, that's right. They literally interviewed Aaliyah 4 days before her crash, and she's talking about the Rock the Boat video, and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine. When I read these people's stories, I try to put myself in their shoes. And I'm like, could you imagine Free's mind state? We literally just spoke to this woman.
4 days ago. 4. Not even a week, not even months, where you'd have time to become estranged and all of that.
Yeah.
And then to spend that length of time and, you're discussing, because that was, the turning point of her career, too, Aaliyah, where she was going to be more mature and take on a different approach, and it was supposed to be a reinvention of herself. So it's you're discussing all these prospects and the future, and then it's cut short. That is insane.
Yeah, I would like to see one thing we didn't mention. Ananda Lewis is a carpenter, and has her own HGTV series. She also has her own YouTube channel. That's just not something I would have ever imagined. So that's really dope. Shout out to her. She's also a mom now. Not now, but she's been a mom for a few years. But I wanted to kind of come full circle on the discussion of these women and just say, I want to see more of you guys. And there's probably women that, because of our ages, we just don't know about, that we may have overlooked, that maybe even came before these women.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out Heather B. and all the other women from the Sway show. You mentioned Angie Martinez. I profiled her. I did a blog post on her because I just appreciate everything she's ever done years ago on Hip Hop Scriptures. We talked about Lala. I want to shout out, oh my God, my brain is going blank. Let's shout out 2 unlikely people. Remy Ma, who's now on State of the Culture with Mr. Budden, and Jazzy Bell is on that show as well. And then, even though she's also a rapper, Nicki Minaj has her Queen Radio. I'm shouting them out because as I thought about where we are now and who I see sitting on other big platforms, I just feel like, given that these women were huge culture changers and innovators and pioneers, I just see less and less of women that look like us on the larger platform. So I wanted to shout out all those women, even if they're women that you may not like or don't like what they have to say. Right. I would like to see more of the women we just talked about, and I would like to see more representation of Black women, being that hip hop started in the Black community.
It's only
on the
right.
larger platforms.
It's only right.
So I wanted to end on that note.
And I think Free is a Now she gives me like a little bit of watery vibes.
Okay, let's see where we go with this one.
Watery vibes. I feel like she could be like, I don't get earth from her.
No,
I don't get earth from her. I think she could be a Pisces, or if not, like, what am I like? If not, like, I don't think she's a Gemini either. I always have to rule out Gemini. I have to consider it.
Why? Because they're so creative?
It's like there's creativity in these people, obviously,
right?
But then it's like there's just a certain nature that it's like I guess these people just aren't like, well, but even like the scale of drama that surrounded her towards the end of her run with 106 in Park isn't to the Gemini extreme.
Yeah.
I feel like Free could be either a Pisces or a Scorpio. I wouldn't say she's a Sag. She could be. She kind of has that kind of like, you know, wrinkled shirt energy we tend to have. And I wouldn't guess Earth for her either. Perhaps a Libra.
That's a good guess.
Perhaps a Libra.
She is an air sign.
Okay.
She's an Aquarius.
Ah! Well, looks like I get like a scratch off prize or something. I want ravioli. That could be my prize.
You got it. I actually have a place that I just found. I have not been to it, but I want to go.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna tell you people. You'll see it on my story.
Like lobster ravioli or something. Some kind of good stuff, and I don't want like. I also want chicken nuggets right now. I'm kind of going through a thing.
So now we're towards the end.
That we are.
And I wanted to talk about another Christmas gift we got yesterday.
And that would be
from none other than Wasteman himself.
Yes. Thank you.
Aubrey Drizzy,
Graham.
the Sixth God.
He is not a waste man. He
sitting there in all black,
a genius
in true Scorpio fashion. He did a 2-hour and 20-minute damn near tell-all of all things Drake.
Let's look up the numbers 222.
I can tell you what 222 means.
Well,
you were in the right place at the right time, in the right path.
Because that's very
But it was 220.
Okay.
So close. But he was there with B. Miller and Elliot Wilson, our favorite title person. And it was literally like, okay, what does everybody want to know about me? I'm just going to tell everything. He talked about J-Lo, Rihanna, a little bit, not about Serena, but Serena was mentioned.
Yeah, he touched on a lot of those.
Nicki, Meek Mill, and then Nicki by default.
Right.
Chris Brown.
His music tells all his business, but it's like, when you really think about it, he still maintains that Scorpio mystique where you don't know all there is.
Talked about
mention of it.
We thought this was funny. He talked about Kanye and having no desire to want to reconcile with him. Now, mind you, they both dropped Christmas presents, so they clearly have something in common. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But what stood out the most? I guess it was nice to hear him clarify him and Chris Brown reconciling. I will say that. Yeah. I really did enjoy both the video and the song for No Guy, and so it was really nice to hear the backstory. Yeah. It was cool. It was a cool little tidbit we posted to our story earlier about Serena Williams being the one to push him to do back to back,
which was a beat. Like, first of all, can we just take a moment to acknowledge that whoever Drake's producers are,
40.
You guys spoil the fuck out of him, because back to back, like, even the clean version was like...
Well, 40's his main, obviously, dynamic duo producer, but he said it was a kid. He didn't say who that brought in that beat, but he said it was super duper slow. So he told 40 to speed it up a little bit. So it was still slow, but you can imagine what it must have sounded like. And then he's like, speed it up a little bit, and then he went in.
Mind blowing, like spoiled princess of all hip hop. Like his beats are elaborate. Every time he says something, it's a cultural revolution. It becomes, you know, another phrase in the dictionary. Another thing he has in common with Kanye. But
what people honed in on, though, see, we were talking about our favorite parts, but what people honed in on was what he had to say about Pusha T. It was like pluses and minuses from where I sat. He basically was like, you know, I'm the number one artist in the world, so of course this guy's going to take the opportunity to do what he did. I think it was below the belt, but he won. But it was a chess move, basically. But I learned from it. I took a hit. You know, all those things.
Especially because, you know, Drake at one point was the one that was going after people. Like, he had the nerve to wake Common up from his slumber.
Be careful, guys, about the clips. That, no pun intended. Be careful about just listening to the clips, because I almost fell into that. It is almost 2.5 hour. And so I watched it. I need to rewatch the last 30 minutes because I was multitasking. But, so there's a clip where he's like, oh, I can't really listen to Pusha T anymore because I don't believe him, because he's always talking about being a drug dealer, and I know what he really is. You could take that or leave it, but the point is, people then were so quick, you know, this is the world we live in, and it's messing up friendships, relationships, and everything else. Somebody had to be like, oh, here's a headline from him buying the microphone of Pusha T on eBay because he's such a huge Pusha T fan. If you watch the video, the interviewers bring that up, and he admits to that. He's like, I'm not saying I wasn't a huge fan. The microphone's still upstairs, by the way. I'm saying I can't listen to him now. He's like, I was 16 probably.
I can't listen to live.
Yeah, he's like, I was probably 16 when I bought that mic. And he's telling you, A, bought the mic, B, still in my house, C, as an adult, grown man, and knowing what I know, I'm saying present day forward, or whenever the epiphany came,
I wish him well.
But in true Twitter fashion. So that's just one example. I'm not going to get into that because that's not what I want to focus on. But for those of you like me who are on the Twitterverse pretty much every day, be careful, because there's plenty of examples where they've taken clips and made it seem like, well, oh, Pusha T is living in his head rent free. He admits to everything. He's not denying he was a huge fan. He's not denying he bought the microphone. He's saying, now, you know, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. The job we have on this earth is to evolve. Right. So he's evolved from being a teenage kid with pimples buying Pusha T's mic on eBay to a grown man who's now
knows Pusha T and
who's
is aware.
Of age, who's 33.
Right.
And he's like, and that doesn't change, by the way, because I am old enough to remember the clips and Pusha T well before Drake was a thing. I do understand the perspective of those who grew up under Drake, right? So that does not diminish my viewpoint on Pusha T at all. He's still one of the baddest lyricists, and he never got
cut his hair.
He never got the accolades he should have gotten, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles as far as what people want and gravitate to and who becomes top shelf. So I'm not taking anything away from Pusha T, but I understand what Drake is saying. So just want to touch on that.
Can't listen to lies, you know.
And one of our favorite, or my favorite parts, again, not shocked, I just like the way that he worded it, because, you know, there was a lot of chit chat about him and J-Lo. He even, but the thing, like Kimber said, he puts it in the music.
He puts it in the music.
He's like, A-Rod, a damn trip, had me on front pages, though. Like, he's telling you. So they just flat out were like, was this a thing? Was it fabricated? And what he said, and I think it was accurate. I don't think he was trying to be coy, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's like, there was a point. He kind of pauses and he looks up. He looks up a lot during the interview. He looks at the ceiling, but he's like, we were hanging out. There was a period of time. I'm sure we can all relate. I just did this myself. Not hanging out with them anymore, but I was hanging out with somebody. We were hanging out consistently, right? Wasn't my girlfriend, my fiance, maybe not even my boo, but he's like, I have the utmost respect for her. She's an amazing person, legend, artist, you name it. Same for Rihanna. So, you know, y'all can continue to do what we do. Drake is one of our favorite people, I think, to make fun of, and I think he knows that, and I think he's embraced that. so we can keep making memes and all that.
I mean,
but
I just feel like at this point we need a hip hop summit. That's something y'all could put in y'all little pot.
Add that to y'all notes.
10% Fridays gift cards, Starbucks gift cards, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. Because imagine how much clarity there would be in the industry if we didn't let Instagram Live and all of that shit facilitate the discussions that these artists need to have. I damn sure wouldn't waste studio time if I was a recording artist, but it would be great to see, you know, people have like discussions. Drake sit with Pusha and Kanye and like actually talk.
Oh yeah.
With like some person from,
and they can still disagree, but you get that well-rounded
an understanding.
Perspective. Yeah.
It would be totally different, and it would give such a refreshing dimension to hip-hop as well. It wouldn't just be all this shade room bullshit. Oh my God.
Somebody literally posted like, can that be one thing we don't bring into 2020 was the shade room? And their target demographic, which is not me by the way, was retweeting and reposting the hell out of it. So that should tell you something. But you know, I wanted to say, I think, well, we know humans, once we fall in love with something or someone, we typically go to excess. And so the internet, reality TV, Instagram was new and shiny, and we have literally killed it. Yeah. And so now with Kimber,
so that Facebook just bought it.
Yeah, what Kimber's saying, I think, is what we need to focus on, which is bringing it back full circle. Okay, we did it to death. Now we need to bring, as a Libra, I can appreciate this, balance. Now we need more of the summits, whether it's a hip-hop summit or teen summit like thing, and
just communication and honesty,
communication and community. That's what's missing. We don't have anything right now. Is the shade room community? No, we don't have a platform for community,
right? And especially now with the artist that passed away recently, Juice Wrld. I think it would be so important and so incredible to have, you know, the daddy Future sit in on a discussion with like Post Malone,
Lord,
and you know, whoever else is like responsible for or can be considered responsible, because I mean, at the end of the day, we are freaking adults, but unfortunately celebrities have this double-edged sword where they're revered as gods and they are followed as such, and in turn they can be punished for it. But it would be incredible to see like a round table, Jada, Red Table Talk, like bring them on down and have a discussion about, you know, what that life entails, what it really means, what it's really like. Lil Wayne, like, let's talk about Lil Wayne. You know,
well, Lil Wayne just was in the news. They found some stuff on his plane.
They're always finding shit on him, and now like his medical records are starting to come up as well.
Are you serious?
Where like they're saying like he's had seizures and stuff like that.
That can't be legal.
So it's like, you know, all of those things need to be discussed, and it can't hurt for us to know more about something we love so much, which is, well, y'all love so much, which is hip-hop, and, you know, like the overall culture and the inner workings of it and the people in it.
Yeah, well, Drake did touch on his, I can't call it a beef. I don't know what y'all want to call it. Y'all know him and Jay-Z have traded.
Jay-Z's just fucking annoying.
So he talks about, I mean, technically he was on Jay-Z's platform with the host from Rap Radar.
Yeah, we'll just call it the Jay-Z effect.
But what I love, I want to end that
Jay-Z
part
allergy
on a positive note. He, in spite of everything, and he was dead ass serious when he said he's not fucking with Kanye right now, but he's like, he's still my favorite. And he's still like my most, with the exception of Jay-Z, like they're equally. But he's like my favorite artist, and he always will be, regardless of the fuck shit that I feel like he's put me through. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. That's not exactly what he said, but that's essentially what he said. But to your point about Juice Wrld, soon as I heard the news, the first person my heart like ached for and I thought of constantly was G Herbo, because I know how much he praised him, talked about how close they were, and I just kept looking like to see if he was going to post something just to see where his mind was at. Yeah. And I know that him and so many other people are still hurting, and, you know, his fans, that communities from Chicago, well, from suburbs of Chicago, I'm very familiar with that high school and the talent that's come out of there. What an idea. Like, what if that was there? You know what I mean? You could even do it in like 3 different cities.
That would
and
be
have
so
these kids
cathartic.
that do look up to Juice Wrld and Future talk about that, and have Future and some of the other folks you mentioned.
That would be so cathartic.
Let's get back. This is collectively, like, everybody has their New Year's resolution. I'll be honest, I do kind of do New Year's resolutions, but my New Year's resolutions, I start on my birthday. Because I always look at my birthday as like, well, what have I done since my last year? Mm-hmm. I'm not that much into like the New Year. By the time the New Year's come, I'm trying to see how I can continue to implement what I decided I needed to do back in October.
That's awesome.
But collectively, I will say it again, as a community, let's get back to the community aspect of hip hop. That is very much absent, but also I think from what we've seen in 2019 and even prior, and even just what we talked about today with all the phenomenal work that these women have done, is missing, it's absent, we're hurting because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And while we're talking about, you know, reuniting and community and oneness, Diddy recently had a birthday.
Oh yes! Oh my God!
And
that whoever that film person was,
mm-hmm.
he inspired so many people that I followed that are filmmakers. They were like, "This makes me like, I don't know. I need to go look up this person." But whoever did that summary film of the like that was amazing.
Yeah, and they really, you know, captured the beauty of the occasion, the festivities. It was great to see celebrities just be regular people, partying. But, yeah, talking about community and oneness and togetherness, Jay-Z.
Oh, God, here we go. Your favorite person.
I hope to God that those still shots that became memes about this is why I asked
totally
who
forgot
gonna be
about
over
that.
there before I come over there. I hope before it turned into all of that, those expressions on your face, I just need you to, one, get over yourself with your fucking starter locks and know and understand that this is someone that you not only shitted on like a big brother for God knows how many years and had under your thumb and probably at your beck and call more than you should have for however long. Your arrogance just really blows my mind. Just because you've chosen a Southern belle for a fucking wife and Kanye has taken on, you know, this heathen, doesn't mean that you cannot coexist. I don't know what it is, and your difference in opinion, I just really need you to also, like, consider getting on a panel discussion and having a conversation about friendship and not being such a cock.
I would sign up for that. I would definitely sign
You
up
know,
for that.
like, can we really just talk about it? Because that was just disgusting to me.
Well,
that you let, as private as you are, as poised as you are, as conservative as you have been,
God.
and careful with your media image, that you allowed yourself to be photographed with someone that was essentially, if not, you know, under your tutelage or whatever the hell, I don't know, sensei, samurai, I don't know what the dynamic was between you two really, but for you to be seen looking that way around someone that was once so dear to you, but simply because of a difference of opinion or because of, you know, disrespect or your misunderstanding of his expression of his emotions, like, I just...
Well, he was quoted as saying that was not his first time interacting with or seeing Kanye, that they apparently had spoken months prior, but the photos were not in the best light. I will agree with you on that.
I hope to God, because
you know, I've been caught off guard. It could look like I'm thinking something or feeling something. I'm totally, you know, and I've had people be like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" This is just my face. So really, maybe it was one of those.
I just really can't stand the person that you've become. Because, you know, the fact is, you still look like a camel.
Oh, Lord.
And
don't we tell...
all you've got is that fucking flow of yours and that and all those other little ad-libs.
Don't we tell children that it's what's on the inside that counts? Don't we?
Girl.
Are we lying to these kids? Because I feel like adults are lying.
What Dion Cole say? Not everybody's fucking picture gets hung up on the refrigerator.
Oh, man. My picture's not on the refrigerator. You know what? But Dion Cole... Oh, my grandma's refrigerator for sure. Okay. But everybody's is. But mine is more prominent because I'm the favorite. But point being... I need to watch his Netflix because Drea was like quoting him and everybody was like dying on Twitter the other night. And I was like, first of all, why is she tweeting so late? But I need to go check that out. Shout out to Dion Cole, another like, Chicago beautiful person.
No, his stand-up was really great. I watched it like twice.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And he's a Capricorn, which I knew.
That I'm not. You know what? I'm not at all surprised by that. Yeah, Capricorn and me is a mixed bag. Some things I read when I'm just bored and perusing say that it's a good match, and then others say it's a terrible match. It's not as bad as Virgo, I think.
It's a pendulum.
But I think it depends on, it's very, 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 very dependent on what else is in the chart. Because I think generally a Capricorn would find me too, as others have said, random. I think not it's stable enough and not traditional enough. And they do like tradition.
I think it's a pendulum, and it also depends on the nature of the relationship. Because I know a lot of wonderful, like, existing Libra Capricorn friendships.
Okay, friendships I could see.
Horrible Libra Capricorn intimate romantic relationships. Yeah. So it's literally like one extreme or the other.
Yeah.
I have a shit ton of Capricorn and Scorpio in my chart. I only have one Sagittarius placement. So thank goodness, I guess.
Interesting. My Sagittarius placement is in a very, very important placement because it keeps coming up on co-star, and that's in Neptune, which apparently represents my spirituality and my creativity, which explains a lot.
Yeah, very expansive, very, very loop-de-loo.
Anywho, I do want to send love and prayers to all of Juice Wrld's loved ones, family, friends, cohorts included. Megan Thee Stallion. I had read this when I first started following her, but I didn't realize that it happened in the same month. So she lost her mother and her grandmother in the same month, not that long ago. And so she had like a very emotional message that she put out for everyone where she's like, you know, this was very difficult. I couldn't imagine. And then all these good things are happening to me, but like this still is with me. It's still very hard. And so just kind of saying, you know, for those, because I saw a lot more this year, which I'm happy about, of people saying, hey, don't forget this time of year can be triggering for a lot of people, either because they don't have anybody or because they lost someone. Yeah. And sometimes maybe you do have people around you, but you could have lost someone very near and dear to your heart around this time of year. So you're automatically going to go back to that. So, just a shout out to Megan Thee Stallion and other people who have lost someone and that they're thinking of, or you know, there was even a story.
Especially that they have to be reminded of it, like now, where it's all about family and being grateful and thankful and all of that. Definitely want to just send that energy and that love out there to those people that feel lonely, that feel lost.
That's usually me around this time of year. I'm gonna be honest with y'all.
Girl,
I was so happy that they're here this year, but for the past almost decade, I am the Grinch. And my people that have known me for a few years know.
This is like your first Christmas where you didn't.
I watched Claudine.
Okay.
And I.
So you did that part.
I didn't watch Claudine this year.
Right.
But I normally am at home
like the first year
watching Claudine, in my PJs, and just. I'm not gonna even lie. As much as I'm bubbly or whatever, I am the Grinch. I'm like, don't fucking call me. I don't want to see pictures of you and your family in matching pajamas.
Oh my
I don't
God.
care. Like, can this part of the year just has.
Oh,
and usually me and Hazel the Unicorn, shout out to you, we're both nuts. She's also a rising Scorpio, but she's a Capricorn. We do the same shit every year. Like, literally, December 30th. We're like, oh, so, that's when I start to liven up a little bit because it's almost over and we're going into a new year and we both are idiots and we'll be like, so do you have plans? Or like, what parties do you know about? Like, literally the day before New Year's Eve. And then we usually go through like 100,000 links and screenshots because we're both very analytical. So then we're like, well, this party seems better than this one. Well, this should be in the top 10. Let's make a note and like share. And then we end up not going anywhere or just like going out to dinner and eating dessert. That's like literally ridiculous.
That's the thing, like, knowing y'all, that's the first thing I would have thought. Dinner and dessert. I was surprised to hear parties. Because I'm like, they don't.
we party. I have photo evidence of me and that girl partying.
I believe it, but I just feel like 9 times out of 10, y'all want to go somewhere and eat. That's true. And it's like the most decadent shit too. It's not like a cafeteria. Normal, it's not like no normal food experience. It's like the height of foodiness.
Oh my God. I'm gonna say a special prayer for myself. Whether I have them, they're probably gonna, now that they're like adults, they'll probably switch up every year. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably be alone again. So my prayer for myself is that next year, even if I'm not with my own family, I'm with somebody's family.
Oh God.
Because we don't need me turning back. I like not being the Grinch this year. So
yeah.
Let's see if we can keep that going.
I agree. That would be great for you, and you do deserve that much. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, for sure.
But yes, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We started the year. Basically, we started January with a live show that was a lot of tension, but there was a lot of nervousness. I think there was a lot of question marks. There were some changes significantly from what we thought it was going to be.
Nigga business.
And where we landed was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And, there's just a lot of stuff that we did. I think something that we didn't do, but I think is a huge bump for us, is that you can now listen to us on Spotify. Because we started on Anchor. Spotify bought Anchor a few months ago, but we weren't immediately available on that platform. But that's dope because we're on Apple, Google.
We're lit now.
Yeah. So, as usual, we're going to take our time between now and the new year to figure out what's next. But I'm saying this here, and we've said it to each other, we want to really build out some more community programming and platforms for Poppin' Off Peak. I mean, we started by creating an intentional space for women to voice our concerns and opinions in hip-hop, and we created another space within that space, which is not the norm. We are friends with a lot of people that have podcasts, and although it is still triggering, we're still very proud of the work that was done for the Cypher and creating that space. And it honestly couldn't have went better. It couldn't have turned out more beautiful visually either.
Shout out to Reggie Angelou, the winner of the Cypher.
We had back for episode 2 of this season.
A couple weeks back, we were hanging out. She's an amazing person.
And she's a Gemini, right?
She's a Gemini.
There we go! Now it's come full circle.
Out. And this is what I meant. Every time Reggie comes out, she comes out. Yes. It's crazy.
Yes.
Literal life of the party. Literally.
Any other closing parting thoughts before we go to our party that we're going to?
Yes, we're going to go see DJ Hijinks at Kinfolk 90
and
tonight.
BK.
For the, what is it?
They always dragging me out of Queens, y'all.
Because nothing happens out here.
It's stuff
There's good food, but nothing happens out here. But yeah, we're on our way to that. My departing message, follow me on Kimber Can't Draw, at Kimber Can't Draw on Instagram, rather. That makes more sense, yes. Follow me there. I will be doing more art things. I have strong sense about what's coming to me, what's coming to us, the future as a whole. So, get your fucking running shoes, get some water, and keep up with us.
Yes. Thank you to my brother who convinced me to come back on Twitter. So you can follow me. I tried to do the whole brand consistency. So you can actually follow me at the same handle on Twitter or on Instagram, whichever is your thing. At Chisophy, CHISOPHLY. I have some emails I need to answer. So I do have some additional blog posts. I did a blog post that did really well recently on your favorite person, Jay-Z, turning 50. That resonated with a lot of folks. So check that out. And yeah, I'm just kind of fumbling my way into the new year. I don't know. I am not particularly sure about what I'm going to be doing over the next 30 or 60 days, but I am on a very interesting adventure and just kind of talking to people about different avenues and opportunities. So, of course, I'll keep you guys posted.
Lots of talks lately, lots of good conversation, lots of, self-realizations and affirmations about things. I've been getting a lot of just like messages, just like bam, like I'm just like.
That's a good point. One thing I have been strengthening and feeling better about is if you're having a conversation, regardless of the medium, and you start to think about what someone else may think, then reroute yourself. And I think the theme for me has been boundaries. Your real friends will respect it, and anyone who can't will fall away, and that's to your benefit. Don't be afraid of change. There's no such thing as losing friends or losing people. You're only going to gain yourself. And the more self-respect and self-love you gain, the better.
And that's true self-love and self-respect. Keeping yourself to yourself and sharing with those that give back to you in return.
Exactly.
And I've learned that patience is a very real thing, and impatience is a result of fear. So watch that.
Good stuff, man.
Always.
So we will see you in the new year. Anybody that's actually going out and celebrating, as always, be careful, especially with
I'll try.
we retweeted from the Poppin Off Pink Twitter account. Uber, and I never thought we retweet a brand, but I had to retweet this. They now have implemented an emergency button in the app. So, there's been memes and jokes and concerns about a lot of stuff that's happened with women specifically, with sex trafficking and Uber. So, that's there. God forbid you need to use it, but just wanted to make you guys aware. Something I try to do as much as possible, especially on nights like tonight when I'm leaving my precious borough, is be mindful of traveling by yourself, be mindful of the time you're getting home and that type of stuff. So just,
have that emergency fund, that emergency cab fund.
To quote Mr. Robinson, Eddie Murphy, that came back on Saturday Night Live and had like their highest rated show ever. Take care of yourselves and your neighbors. We'll see you.
As always, bye hoes.
See you on the other side.
I'm hungry.